Sometimes things in life have to change, and in case of Mario, that's definitely true. Last week Nintendo confirmed on their official Japanese website that Mario is no longer a plumber. Instead, he now does sports like tennis, baseball, soccer or car racing, and actually about anything else that is cool. Throughout the entire internet, this statement deeply shocked a lot of his fans. It also led to a lot of discussions and questions about the lore of Mario and Luigi, but the most frequently asked question probably was, why did Nintendo do this? And in consequence, why now? Well, in this video I want to discuss 3 possible reasons for Nintendo's decision. First, it is apparent that after so many years, Nintendo no longer knew how to further develop the plumber theme around Mario. Second, it is also no coincidence that Nintendo felt that last week was the right time for announcing this life-changing development. The news about Mario's job transition spread around the world like wildfire, and in doing so helped to draw a lot of additional attention to the upcoming Super Mario Odyssey release. Which also brings me to my third point. The change actually isn't too surprising if we take a look at the gameplay of Super Mario Odyssey. But before we start, let me be clear, I'm not trying to say that these reasons are irrefutably true, nor that there are no other reasons why Nintendo changed Mario's profile. If you have your own theory, I would be happy to read it in the comments. I'm also not defending the decision, because I'm honestly not too happy about it. Mario was always my favorite plumber, and he'll plumb forever in my heart. But with that being said, you ready? Let's discuss this. Okay, so let's start with the theory that Nintendo couldn't go any further with the plumber theme. To understand that, we have to go back to 1983, the year when Mario got his first job as a plumber in the arcade game Mario Bros. And ask, why did Nintendo choose this job for him in the first place? Well, Mario's creator Shigeru Miyamoto answered this question in an interview that I linked in the description as follows. Mario Bros. Was a game that was set in the sewers, and the pipes were green and there were turtles coming out of pipes, and so we thought in this game it would make sense that Mario would be a plumber because of all the pipes, and so that's where the plumber came from. If we look at this statement, we'll find 2 notable things. First, Mario didn't always work as a plumber. Miyamoto told us that Mario started his plumbing career in Mario Bros. But before the game was released, Nintendo made 2 other Mario games. Donkey Kong in 1981, where Mario aka Jumpman worked as a carpenter, and Donkey Kong Jr. in 1982, where he was Donkey Kong's guard. We can also see that Miyamoto never planned to build a game around a plumber. He was simply confronted with the graphical limitations of the arcade hardware. He designed the green pipes and the sewer setting before he said, well, it would make sense that the hero of this game would be a plumber. And because the plumber identity fit Mario well, Miyamoto stayed by it for his Super Mario Bros. Series on the NES, the first games where Mario needed the pipes to discover the underground. But at the latest, with the Super NES and the release of Super Mario World, Mario's job became less important for the setting of the games. Mario now rode on a dinosaur and only rarely worked as a plumber. Instead, he spent more time with his rather unusual hobbies. First, drawing pictures, giving typing classes and driving carts, and some years later giving parties, smashing enemies and teaching even more typing. The point is, if we look at Mario's history, we see that it once was important that he was a plumber, but today Mario does so many strange things that it's hard to tell what his real interests are. No wonder Miyamoto already distanced himself many years ago from Mario's job when he said, "My vision of Mario has always been that he's sort of representative of everyone. He's kind of a blue-collar hero, and so that's why we chose these roles for him, that were things like carpenters and plumbers." And this sounds to me as even back then Miyamoto saw Mario as someone who played different roles depending on the game and not always worked as a full-time plumber. But if this is true, why did Nintendo alter Mario's profile only now, shortly before the release of Odyssey? Well, there are 2 possible answers to this question. Maybe Nintendo wanted to increase the attention for Odyssey. Right now, many thousands of people around the world are talking about the fact that Mario is no longer a plumber. This raises the general interest in Mario games and also in Odyssey in specific. So the news could be part of an advertising strategy. But maybe there's another, more interesting reason behind Mario's change of jobs. But before we discuss it, we have to remember that every Mario game on a new console was revolutionary for the franchise in some way. Super Mario 64 brought our then plumber to the third dimension. Super Mario Sunshine gave him the Flood, a powerful water cannon. And in Super Mario Galaxy, Mario was confronted with different forms of gravity. So if Odyssey keeps its promise, we can expect another revolution, maybe even the biggest one, since Mario entered the third dimension. Because in this game, Miyamoto's vision of Mario as a representative of practically everyone will become reality. With his new capture ability, Mario will take control over objects, animals or enemies. He will step into roles he already once played a long time ago and also into dozens of new ones. And for the first time in his life, Mario will do everything he has ever wanted. There is one last Miyamoto quote which might help us to understand how Nintendo views their own heroes. So Miyamoto was asked the following question. Time and time again, Bowser kidnaps Peach. Why do Mario and Peach still race go-karts and play tennis with him? Which is honestly a really good question now that I think about it. So here is what Miyamoto answered. If you're familiar with things like Popeye and some of the old comic characters, you would oftentimes see this cast of characters that takes on different roles depending on the comic or cartoon. They might be businessmen in one or a pirate in another. Depending on the story that was being told, they would change roles. So to a certain degree, I look at our characters in a similar way and feel that they can take on different roles in different games. It's more like they're one big family, or maybe a troupe of actors. Nintendo never had a vision of Mario as a plumber, but a vision of Mario as a character who is representative for everyone and who could become anything. And it makes perfect sense to finally make this official before the release of Super Mario Odyssey, a game that is all about becoming anything, including a hammer bro, a dinosaur or a taxi. But with that being said, I'll continue to refer to Mario as a plumber anyways, because to me he will always be a plumber, no matter what Nintendo says. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and maybe you feel especially like quitting your job today and want to hit the subscribe button as well. I hope that you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye.